This is a very improved US team between the first and the second friendly. So let's break down a couple of the key reasons why. I've got three things that really were important to me. First one is transitions. I feel like there was a really big difference in the individual level of effort, whether that's transitioning from offense to defense, defense to offense. You could just see individual folks hustling, wanting to be first to the ball, wanting to be first to make things happen. And I feel like you could see this start at an individual level early in the match. And then, as more players were committed to it, you could see it at a team level. This was maybe my favorite example. You're going to see the whole second line of the press coordinated together, regrouping, just really good stuff. Huge area of improvement in the second match. Next thing I like to see was that the press looked really improved. And I thought there was a really noticeable difference between the dead ball press that we're seeing here and the open play press that we're going to see in a little bit. This one, I think the U.S. were really intentional about setting their traps, understanding who needs to come up high to support that to press as a team. Now, this one in open play looks really different. It's a lot slower pace. There's the U.S. looked pretty happy to allow Portugal to possess there, and so they should be. This is their strategy, right? They look way more compact, way more narrow, and they're really trying to dominate where Portugal is allowed to have the ball. So they're very, very happy up top there. They're not going to press. They got baited into that a lot last time. Now when the ball is on the wings, look at people's body language and the way that they're facing. See, everybody is facing towards the wing, very intentional about what they're trying to do and how they are trying to press as a team. And that there for them is a big win, right? Forcing Portugal to reset. They don't look as comfortable passing as last time. Similar thing here, doing less to do more, right? So they're perfectly happy standing around because it's not impacting their game when they're up 2-1. This is a really good situation for them. And again, press looking nice and compact, good distance between the lines, good distance on the edges, and they're really waiting for specific triggers. A lot of those cues are locational, but I think last time the press looked like it was just 100% focused on locational cues. So it was just like, when a ball gets to this spot, we're going to press. And what I really liked this time was you could see a few other triggers come in. I think this one is just like a little bit of hesitation and maybe anticipation of a bad touch. So it's great from Jaden Shaw to know, okay, number one thing is location, but number two, I've got these other things going on. If I see them, I'm going to pounce. And we get different results from that over time. This is basically the same cue Shaw is picking up on. Defender deals with that differently. And you press as a group. Eventually, you're going to get the result you're looking for. And I know this was offside, but I had to leave it in because it was just the most footballer thing ever. Pretending not to hear the whistle. It definitely went twice, but there you go. All right, so we've talked transitions, we've talked press. The last thing I want to talk about is patience. And this was really demonstrated at an individual level, but it became a little bit hard to key into sometimes. So right here, it's that little hesitation, that little stutter step from Real that lets her get her head up, look, make sure things have developed the way she wants. Here, Johannes has got space in front of her, but it's little stutter steps, and that helps hide her intention with the long ball. Here, little stutter steps backwards from Alyssa Thompson allows time for Real to get into position and for that play to develop. So just small individual moments of patience led to bigger things down the line. For me, I feel like we saw the patience play out in two instances. I know this first goal was really early on, but I think you can see people making sure they're looking, recognizing where the spaces are, and just not being hurried. There's hustle without the hurry. We had a good interview from Emma Hayes yesterday where she talked about how the U.S. women's national team are tracking sequences of possession and patience, and one of the metrics they're looking at is sequences of 8 or more passes. Well, the reason the U.S. are able to continue making little passes here to get this goal going is because they're moving into good spaces. They're really connected. That timing and that patience to allow things to develop. That was very early on. We could say it's a little bit of a fluke, but this one later on, I think, was a really clear example of that patience, right? So there's hustle to retain the ball. There's some intention to go forwards, but mostly we're preserving, switching it up to a point of attack. This one I thought here was great because there's a ton of space there, and there's no rush to move through that space at all. There was a lot of rushing between the defensive third and the attacking third last match. This time, people were just up, heads up. They're looking, they're trying to make things happen. And again, just being in the right spaces, being connected, knowing that you've got options to recycle. This whole thing just looks so improved. That was the good stuff. What didn't look all that improved to me was aerial duels in the box. Outside of the box, I actually think it looked supremely improved. But inside of the box, there was definitely still a struggle, including this moment early on. If I'm gonna nitpick, I think maybe the defense looks a little bit more focused on maintaining their structure and their shape, but not really dealing with the reality of what Portuguese players are doing there. But these are really difficult moments to prepare and train for. They're some of the most like uncontrollable, unpredictable moments in the game. So it's honestly a good thing, but this is where the US are having issues. I thought that was a good clearance from Real, but other than that, I think Portugal got the better of these. They get to that one first. Good second clearance from Johannes, though. This one is allowed to drop, and that's probably a good read. This one, the D are going to struggle with a little bit again. And then this one is also going to be allowed to drop, but that's probably a good read. So here's the difficulty with this.
Being great in the air has nothing to do with height. It's all about timing, and timing for us as a team was off.
It sounds silly, but the timing is going to be different between club and international play because the step up is there. It's real. People are stronger. They're faster. They anticipate better. So this will improve, but it is going to take time to improve. Thank you guys for hanging out with me in my closet today. I'm not doing my impression of middle school Bridie. I am dealing with some sound issues, so hopefully we have that fixed for the next one. Next video is not going to be on New Zealand because I am going to be in England, hopefully watching Chelsea play. So I will see you all soon for an NWSL playoffs video.